Hello and welcome to Creative Marketing TV. My name is Susan Joy Schlief. I'm the founder and host of Creative Marketing TV, and I'm glad to have you with us. And I'm very excited to have a special guest today. Lowell and Fuglsang is going to be here to talk to us about using Google Apps for business. So let me get off of my slide share here and welcome, Lowell.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here.
Good. So let's dive right in. If you want to tell us a little bit, Lowell, about your background and how you got to own your own business and become a business consultant. I know you have kind of an interesting history.
That goes back a long way. I just kind of was obsessing in my mind just how far back I should go.
Well, let's keep it brief.
I spent 20 years in the North, and my background is working for the Canadian government in the employment world.
And for those of us who are not in Canada, what does the North mean?
Oh, the Arctic.
Oh, way north.
North, yes. In the Northwest Territories. I lived in Yellowknife for 20 years. Yeah.
Right.
And traveled all over the Northwest Territories and Nunavut, which are two territories that are not yet provinces in Canada. But it's above the 60th parallel. Okay. So we're talking to some degree, parts of both territories are above the tree line.
Mm.
So yes, very north.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I should refer to it as the Arctic. Would be clearer, wouldn't it?
It would, but then we think of snow and ice. Oh, now I'm getting a little bit of feedback. So.
Are you?
Yeah.
Do you want me to plug in my earphones?
I think you might have to, because I'm hearing myself echoing back.
Okay, it'll just take me a minute.
Okay.
It's very handy, but I'll have to disappear for a minute.
Okay. All right. Yep. Echo is gone now. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. So you were working for the government.
Yes. And I took an early retirement in 1997 and opened a consulting business in downtown Yellowknife. And my consulting consisted of training in the field of leadership development and facilitation and team development and all of those things. And I knew I was going, when I was, still with the government, I knew I wanted to leave the government and do something on my own hook. So in preparation to that, before I retired, I had a Mary Kay business up north where, nice things were not as available. So, but that was my vehicle for learning what you needed to do to go into business. So when I was ready to retire, I simply went over to the bank and changed the name on the bank account and carried on. So I had my office all ready to roll, etc.
Okay.
So then I traveled a great deal into Nunavut, doing especially new leadership development, because it was a new territory and new people were going to be joining the government. And I began to realize that Iqaluit is on the eastern side of Canada, and Yellowknife is on the western side of Canada. So, and a huge distance between the two. So I began to realize also that my trainees needed support when they were when they went back to their office after the training that we did, to implement what they'd learned. So I began to build in telephone coaching, individual telephone coaching.
Okay.
And then after that, I found out there was such a thing as a true field of coaching, which I discovered independently. And that led eventually in with my work to learn more about the field of coaching. And I came south to Victoria, BC, which is where I live now, to a university here, Royal Roads University, that was presenting an executive coaching program. And that was in roughly 2003, I guess. So I got my executive coaching certificate and fell madly in love with Victoria and eventually moved here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm here now. I don't do facilitation any longer. I got really burned out with all the travel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you travel constantly in your work, it really does burn you out. So I began to concentrate a lot more on coaching, and the business coaching I do now is really kind of an outgrowth of the career coaching that I did, because I began to focus on older workers who were trying to decide what to do. And one of the options for people in the whole employment process was to consider self-employment. So I got very involved in the whole self-employment piece. And then when I discovered the online world that we're now working in, I began to see that you know, there is a whole new world out there. So my experience for business is really from my own experience and from my experience in the consulting and employment world, and also in the coaching world. So it kind of all fell together.
Yeah, nicely.
Yeah.
All right. And I know that you do a lot of work with Google Apps.
Yep.
Can you give us a little bit of background about how you got started using that and why it's such an interest?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Some colleagues and I began to put together some training that had to do with employment for older workers. Mm-hmm. We called it the Golden Keys training. And that was a few years back now, and the platform we were using didn't work. We were hoping to do this online. I think we were before our time. I think we were ahead of the game, too far ahead of the game. So we discovered that when we were doing this online training, we spent most of the time helping people figure out how to manage the technology. And we spent more time on that than we did on the actual content of our training. So we kind of got discouraged with that. And then I kept on looking, and that's when I found Google Hangouts. And that was my first sort of entry. Somewhere back in those early days, I did discover Gmail, and I moved over from all of the Microsoft products over to using Gmail. I think it was when I went from Outlook to Gmail, then I began to see all the other pieces and how they all fit together.
Right.
So I think that's probably it's kind of it was a very organic process.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, I know some people have kind of a negative feeling about Google for various reasons. And there's some of our listeners may be thinking, oh, I don't want to use all that Google stuff. They're just giving us those free apps to, you know, to get our data or whatever. What's your response to that? Why do you think people should take advantage of the Google tools?
Well, and I'm going to take this from the perspective of somebody who's wanting to market a business, if they're in business.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in business, if you're thinking in terms of marketing, the purpose of marketing is to be found.
Right.
And if you want to be found, you need to be using all the things, all the products, so that when people go do a Google search, almost everybody uses Google search. That's
right.
what Google is all about, is Google search. And
Yep.
so when you learn to use all of the features that are available, especially things like Hangouts and the rest, you are more apt to be found on Google search. That's the very reason that you're marketing.
Yeah.
So the other part of that I see is that it's the convenience. It's like, if you're in business for yourself, you need to have systems that work together.
Mm-hmm.
And to not have to go here to do this and go there to do that and go there to do that. So to work within a system where everything speaks to everything else is a very efficient way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does Google steal and snoop in all of our data and the things that we're doing? No, it doesn't. Google search looks for what we put out there that we want to be found. So, and I really have to say that so many people get all caught up in spam and all of the awful online stuff, and certainly all of us have experienced that sometime in the past, and it makes us very leery about a lot of things. But one thing that I've noticed since I started using Gmail and all of those what I call kind of office products, I do not experience spam and all of those other things. I just don't.
Mm.
So they do a very good job at protecting us, and if by chance something does sneak through, you can report it, and they take action immediately about that, because they don't want negative, ugly things happening in the system any more than we do.
Right. And that's one of the things that I know, just from a business perspective, it makes sense. Google, their whole business relies on people having a good experience with their search function and with Gmail and with the other tools.
Yes.
So if anything is interfering with people's positive experience of that, they're going to try to fix it, right?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, I'm not so sure I am totally convinced that they're not collecting lots of data on us. I think probably everybody's collecting that data.
Oh, let me clarify. They are collecting data in terms of what we search for, what we look for, where we are, and things of that nature. They do not go into our emails and our documents and look at and steal information out of what we do. They just don't do that.
No, I don't think they would need to, but they definitely are tracking where we go on the internet.
They're tracking our behavior.
Yeah, right. And I think there's really no way around that these days if you're going to be online, other than if you turn everything off, and then you lose a lot of opportunities as well.
Close up shop.
That's right.
But let me say also that Google is not the only place that our behavior is being tracked.
Absolutely not. Facebook is definitely doing that.
Platforms are doing the same.
Sure. Facebook probably has more data than Google even. So.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So what are some of the apps from Google? And I think most of them are available free, right? Some of them might have paid options as well. But what are some of the ones that you really recommend for entrepreneurs and professionals and small business owners, especially in light of maybe like you were talking about getting your marketing message out there with sharing content and things like that? Which
Yeah.
ones are really important to
Well,
learn and
first of
use?
all, I want to say that from a small business, a solopreneur's perspective, to be using the mail and contacts and calendar, and I always include Keep in there as well. Those are things that are very, very necessary for us, and they are all free.
Mm-hmm.
There is a paid version of what they call Google Apps for Business, and that is for companies that want to have more than one person in their company use the same email address.
Okay.
That's basically what that's for.
Okay.
So from an efficiency perspective, all of those pieces that I call my office. That's my office.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to think about and speak about content and being found in marketing, there are a number of other things that I think are worth looking at and speaking about. And so, first of all, one of the pieces that I think is a very valuable tool, and that's called Google Alerts.
Okay.
And what you can do is tell Google to let you know, for example, anytime your name comes up on across the internet.
Okay.
Or you can use it as a research tool. So let's say there's a topic that you're particularly interested in. You can tell Google to let you know when something appears on the internet that's related to that topic, and it comes to you by email, drops into your inbox in Gmail, and so that's a very handy research tool.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for a person who's wanting to market their work and to stay on top of the trends and all of that, that's a very valuable tool.
Yeah. And then you could use that to find new information to include in a blog post or a video or something.
Absolutely.
Like that. Or even to curate that content if someone else has shared good content.
Yes, absolutely.
Good.
So that's
what else?
That's one piece that I think is really important. Another one, well, certainly in terms of content, I would say Google Photos is another one. Because when you're taking out and about and taking pictures and doing things, you've got photos there. And then when you want to post something into a social media area, there they are. They're right there at your fingertips.
And this is what's taken the place of Picasa, right?
Yes, it is.
Google Photos. Okay.
And you can do all kinds of fancy things in there. You can create slideshows and all kinds of things, depending on what you need it for. But these days, in terms of posting items in social media and on, it doesn't matter which platform you're speaking about now, the visuals are very important. And a lot of people are now, I'm hearing a lot of people say, use your own photos whenever you can.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. So for me, photos is a really good tool for that.
Okay.
So that's another piece. Another one that there are two others that I think if you have a website, they're both extremely important. One of them is called Webmaster Tools. I think it has another name now, which I've forgotten what it is. But if you type in Webmaster Tools, you would get it. And what that does is it allows you to see, you can discover where people came from when they came to visit your website.
Mm.
So that's a very helpful thing, so that you know you know, what the sources are, and so you can do more.
Yep.
It will also tell you if there are errors, if there are things on your website that are not working. It will tell you what isn't working, if there's a link in there that's not working, it'll tell you. So if you go in there and do all of that, that allows you to keep your website in really good shape.
Mm-hmm. Good.
So that's another piece, and Google Analytics is another tool for looking at your website in terms of what the demographics are, where they come from, what page they landed on,
Mm-hmm.
what page they left on, all of those pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So those are all really, really valuable tools in terms of publishing your own content.
Right. And
if you're publishing on your website.
Right. And seeing what response they get.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
and both of those are free, right?
Pardon me?
Both of those tools are free, right?
Yes. Everything I've mentioned is free except for the Google apps.
Right.
For companies.
Right.
Yeah. So, and of course, how could I not say something about YouTube?
Oh, yes. Right.
I mean, we all know that as time goes on, I mean, it's already there. We are doing something right now. The platform we're using right now is Hangouts, but it essentially uses YouTube.
Yes. And that's where the results will end up, on YouTube.
That's
right.
where they will be.
That's right.
And again, YouTube is a fabulous place to do research,
mm-hmm.
to learn how to do things.
Yep.
I mean, all of those. I mean, there's you can be entertained on YouTube. You can be educated on YouTube. You
yep.
can market your own material.
Mm-hmm.
And
build relationships and contacts, and
absolutely.
Yeah.
And so if you've got a YouTube channel, that's another way of putting your own content out there.
Yep, definitely.
So, and YouTube is free.
Yes.
So, and it's also known as the second best search engine.
Yep.
Out there on the net.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I've actually heard a statistic that for people under 30, they use YouTube for searching before they will go to Google to search.
Yeah. That could be. Yeah. So those are the main ones that I can think of that really kind of fit the content piece.
You know, I would add maybe Google Drive to that as well.
Well, I certainly, if you're, I mean, the Google Drive pieces, the slides, the sheets, the docs, the forms, those are all kind of what I mean. I regard those almost as part of my office.
Uh-huh.
I mean, docs works pretty much the same as Word Perfect or Word,
mm-hmm.
you know, and Sheets works pretty much the same as Excel. Now,
right.
One of the things that I've noticed about all of the Google Drive products is that they're not quite as extensive,
right,
as the Microsoft products.
Yeah.
But they're absolutely more than adequate
for most people.
Yeah,
that's probably sufficient.
Yeah.
No, I know for me, PowerPoint is going to be my tool, and no matter what. But I'm using it for a lot of things that most people probably don't use it for. So,
but you can upload a PowerPoint into Google Drive.
Yes, definitely.
So if there's something that you want to use, and I know where you're coming from, because I use PowerPoint in another circumstance that I mean, there are some features within PowerPoint that you can't find anywhere else as easily.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that. But on the other hand, I've used Google the equivalent. We've used that
presentations. I think it's
presentation.
called.
Yeah, I've used those lots of times, and you can save them as PDFs, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if you're into doing any sort of collaborative work, all of those Google Drive features are shareable with anybody that you want to share them with.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I was thinking of, not so much even just the the creation tools, but even if you create it in PowerPoint or Excel, you can still share it on Google Drive to have someone else look at it.
Yes.
Right.
And
I do
or
like that.
but I mean, if you're doing it as a Google Drive product, then you can have several people working on one document at the same time.
At the same time, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
so,
and
that's a fabulous
collaborative
tool.
content is the way to go, especially these days when we have to create more and more content. If you can have someone else help you with it, Google Drive is a great tool.
Let me give you an example. This morning, Roland and Vivek and I were on a Hangout, and we started to do some work around a process where I don't want to say too much because but we're working on something, and we're all three of us we've already started collaborating on a document that is going to stand us in good stead.
Good. Yeah.
So I mean, it's just and the other piece around that, Roland is in California. Vivek is just outside of London.
Right.
You're just outside of
I'm in Chicago.
Chicago,
yeah.
And I'm in Victoria, British Columbia, in Canada.
Yeah.
So I mean, this allows us to do work with people all over the world.
That's right. Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Oh, it's fabulous.
Yeah,
I love it.
So we don't have a lot of time left. I do want to ask you a little bit about using Google Hangouts. I know you use it a lot, as do I. What can you tell people who might be thinking, oh, Google Hangouts is so old, it's out of date, and now people should be using Blab and Periscope and Facebook Live. Is there still a place for Hangouts?
For me, it's still the place, and I'll tell you why. I certainly have participated in Blabs and had a lot of fun, etc. I participate in Periscope. I have not participated in Google Live because I haven't got it yet.
Facebook Live, right.
However, Periscope and Google Live are one way. You're putting information out to people, and the only way that they can interact with you is via text.
Right.
The reason I prefer a Hangout-on-Air is because I like to work with groups of people. My Tuesday morning success circle, I can have 10 people having a conversation together from all parts of the world.
Right.
Depending on time zones, of course.
Right. Right. So it's like a conference call, but you have a video feed.
We are there, and for me, I can hold that I call it a success circle or a mastermind. I can hold that every week, and people can come in and interact and have conversations and develop relationships, and we even quite often do business with one another. So having that ability to have everybody in the room together is really important to me. It's about developing relationships and about developing trust with one another.
Yeah, and the two-way communication, I think, too, is a big factor of what Google Hangouts has that the others don't yet.
That's right.
Now,
the other one
I've been told that Facebook Live is going to add it, but it's not there yet. So
it certainly isn't there. It isn't even there for everybody that's out there doing anything.
Right.
And so for me, Google Hangouts is because it allows me to create relationships with people.
Mm-hmm.
It's about relationship building.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's important to me.
Yeah. And I'll just add to that, one of my mentors in learning Hangouts describes that it's not just the relationships, but it's the intimacy of that communication in the group,
Yes.
which you don't have when you're typing questions in a chat box or something like that. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Now, by the same token, I certainly have had some fun interacting with people through texting in a variety of places, and there is a way you can do that.
Yep.
But it's still not as satisfying in it as being able to get together face to face the way we are right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think there's a place for all of them.
Well, the other
I'm looking forward to adding those other two to my week, because I can develop new audiences there.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to let them take the place of Hangouts, because they're just not the same.
So I should tell you that part of what Vivek and I were working on, I think you may be aware that I was using Business Hangouts at one stage of the game, and I decided that it would really make more sense for me to figure out how to use Google Hangouts-on-Air and be able to use that on my website. So I've come to the conclusion that, and maybe we could get into that a little bit more later, but I want as much as possible to be happening on my website.
Mm-hmm.
And I have discovered that I can host a Hangout-on-Air on my website.
Mm-hmm. I know you can. I have not done it myself.
Yeah.
So
well, that's last week's Hangout. That's what I did.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed last week.
So now what we're working on is the process using the new Google approach. So when you go to a Google Hangout.google.com or hangout.google.com, when you go there, you can find where you can set up a Hangout on Air, and you can set it all up, and so I'm working through the process so that it's really clear to me how to do it, and to anybody else that I'm going to share it with. And I think we've discovered a way for to do that, and then to be able to you see, if you try to share a Hangout on Facebook won't accept it. But I can share a link to my website on Facebook.
Yeah, they would be happier with that. I know I have shared Google Plus event pages for my Hangouts, but I haven't done it recently, so maybe they've changed that.
Yeah. So,
but sure, they won't have any problem with it being on your website.
No, that's right.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, so that's where I'm going. I've come to the conclusion with all the changes that are happening out there, both in Google and Facebook and Blab and Meerkat, which disappeared, and all of those things. The best approach to take is to put it on do everything on your own real estate.
Embed it on your site. Yep. And you want to be drawing people back to your website anyway.
That's right. That's why we're doing all of this in the first place.
Right. That's right. Great. Thank you for sharing all that, Lowell. We do need to wrap up, but I know you have a free offer you wanted to share with our audience. I'm going to bring up the slide with the URL. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Oh, sure. This is a tool that I developed a few months ago now, and I put it up on my website. It's called the Portable Business Coach, and it's a tool for solopreneurs to go in and work their way through It takes about 30 minutes to do. It allows them to, it asks them all the right kinds of questions in and around what is going on in their business. And it's free, and at the end, if you want, you can receive a copy of that free of charge. And I receive a copy, and I have to admit I use the content to help me determine what the needs of solopreneurs are. But it also gives them the opportunity to say, here's a piece I really don't know what to do with. Can you help me with this? Yeah.
Great. So, yeah. Well, that sounds like it will be very helpful. And I have the URL on the screen here, but then I will also put it in the description underneath the recording.
It's not on, there it is. It's now on the screen.
Oh, it wasn't showing when I put it in slideshow. Okay, thanks. I didn't realize that.
So yeah, it's pretty easy to find, and my website, as you can see, is pretty easy to find, lowland.com.
Right, right. All right. And then we'll post it underneath the recording for the Hangout as well. And maybe maybe Lowell, Ann, you want to put a comment there underneath too and describe a little bit of what people can expect there. Yeah, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show and sharing all this great information about some of the Google apps that people may not have thought about using before.
Well, you know what? I'd like to share a parting shot.
I was just going to say, is there anything else you want to close with?
I do. I've noticed, I've been watching, and I've noticed that everything that's going on online right now is moving toward mobile.
Absolutely.
And if you really look carefully at all of those apps, and the changes that have happened over the last six to 8 months, you can see that the reason the changes happened was because there was a preparation going on for mobile. And all of these tools, especially the Office tools and the Google Drive tools, the YouTube tools, Webmaster Tools, I'm not sure whether that would work. I think you probably need to be on your desktop for that. But an awful lot of the tools are available and really easily usable, including Hangouts. You can do a Hangout from your phone.
I was just going to say, people can participate in it, right? But the person who's hosting it needs to be on a computer, right? Yeah. But yes, definitely you can participate from a phone.
But I'm also hearing that down the road that in fact I can see some changes happening in YouTube right now. So it's looking as though we'll be able to do so. Well, you already can start a YouTube video from your phone.
Yes.
So that's the first step, and I foresee, I don't know this, I have no inside information, but I foresee a time when we'll be doing everything from our smartphones, an awful lot.
I think that's true. Pretty much that's the way things are going. I mean, people will still have the option of doing it from the computer, but they don't need to do it from the computer. Yeah.
So it's all about convenience. It's all about connecting. It's all about relationships, and it's all about mobile.
Yeah, and the reason it's about mobile is because, or mobile as we say, is because it's about providing the customers with the experience that they're looking for. And since they're using their phones or their tablets, then that's what we have to be able to provide, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Lowell Ann. It's been very thought-provoking, and hopefully it will be for our listeners as well.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.